Hello, hello. Good to see you all. Thanks for coming and joining us. We're giving people a moment to log on. We're getting started. But as we start, I'm going to say hello. My name is Charles Williams. I'm with Earth Activist Training, and you have made it to transforming your business with community guilds with Patty Love and Carolyn, and they're going to be talking to you tonight. Just a little housekeeping. We're recording this. It's being streamed to YouTube, though only the people who've signed up for class will be seeing this. It's not live out there right now, so it's just who's on. So we'll be sharing this recording out with you by email, and other people who are watching this recorded. We'll be sharing this out in 24 to 48 hours, depending on how the video editing goes to get it ready. So keep a lookout for an email from us afterwards and be ready to go. If you have questions, so during the presentations, if you have questions, please go to the bottom of your screen. If you're on a computer or a tablet, there'll be a bar, and on there somewhere it should say Q&A. If you click that button, you can type in your question, and we'll keep the questions till the end and then try to answer them, or we'll answer them along, we'll type you some answers to your questions. So if you have any questions, please put them in the Q&A. If you can't find that, you can put them in the chat. And if all else fails, at the end of class, there'll be a moment where you can just unmute yourself and speak out. So if you have any questions, put them in the Q&A, put them in the chat, or wait till the end, and we'll have a little time for questions. So with that, I'm handed off to Carolyn and Patty. Welcome to class.
Thank you, Charles. Welcome, everybody. My name is Carolyn, and my business is Wonder and Wilder, and I help small businesses to establish and grow their online presence. And I started by doing web design, and I've done that for many years, but there's so many things related to that, like how do you get people to your website? So I branched out into social media and other digital things. And so what we're doing tonight is Patty is going to talk about values and how you can clarify your values and how that can help you grow a community that helps your business. And then I'm going to talk about how you can attract an audience to grow your community, why that benefits your business, and how logistically you can do that, like what kind of software you can use and things like that. And then we are each offering courses that go into more detail about those things coming up soon. So at the end of this, we will tell you a bit more about those courses. And then we're going to have some time for some Q&A for you to ask any questions, either about the content that we've taught tonight or about the upcoming courses. So thanks for joining, and I'll hand it over to Patty.
Hi, folks. My name's Patty Love. I am speaking to you from the traditional homelands of the Haudenosaunee people, especially the Onondaga, who sometimes are called the Seneca folks, in the place that's now called Rochester, New York. I started out my early adult life getting traditional degrees in business and liberal studies, and worked in manufacturing, higher education, finance, and then became self-employed. And I've also worked with not-for-profits and closely held and small businesses. For about 25 years, I've been self-employed in some capacity, working to support other business owners, business coaching. And for the last 15 years now, I have been a certified permaculture designer. And a handful of years ago, I also became a certified permaculture teacher. Having a conversation with Starhawk one day, we were talking about what if we wove together permaculture and business design and what that would look like. And that's how I got here to be a teacher for the Regenerative Business Design course, and also the facilitator for the Maven Makers group every month. So these are our goals for this conversation. We want to talk about, I'll start out by framing what we mean by values and why it makes sense to use them as a foundational tool to build community around your business. Then I'll talk about how to discover and articulate these goals before we move into how to make them both visible and actionable. And then Carolyn will talk about why to use something other than social media to build your community, steps you can take to turn your audience into a community, and then show us some cool community software solutions that you can use to do that. So just taking a breath to be here and thinking about values and what values are. So just to frame this conversation, I thought we would approach this conversation about values in thinking about things that ideas, beliefs, and behaviors that feel foundational to who we are. What is sacred? What is dear? What is important? For example, for me, integrity is a value both personally and also for how I work in my business. If your business is a solopreneur business or a single shingle shop, sometimes we call it, it's your sandbox, meaning that you can center your values as the foundation for your business and the community guild that you're going to build for it. If you're building a business with other folks, then you might be surprised sometimes to find out that folks who share some of our values don't share all of our values. And of course, that can cause some conflict. So if you're working with a group of folks to start a business, or you already are operating a business with a group of folks, you might find Starhawk's course on empowering collaborative groups or her book, The Empowerment Manual, to be really helpful to learn how to work through the process of handling group dynamics and building a business with a group of folks so that you can come to agreement on values that the business, that all of you in the business agree to. And maybe just take a moment for yourself to think about what your most important value is. And if you want to put that into the chat window, you're welcome to. Values are very personal and subjective. And I'll just say that for me, I think integrity is my highest value, both personally and in how I conduct my business. So that's what I'm going to focus on speaking about tonight as we talk about centering our values in the business. So it's important to identify your values, because if you can identify them, then you can be transparent about them. So thoughtfully sharing the values of your business is an act of transparency and vulnerability. And I learned from the trainer, Mickey Cashton, that when we are transparent and vulnerable with other people, that is a strong way to build trust with other people, for people to trust in us because we're being transparent and vulnerable. And when we have this foundation of trust, those who do business with us know what to expect from us, how they'll be treated. And if you create a community agreement, what conduct is also expected of them. When you have high levels of trust, folks who have decided to do business with you will keep coming back again and again. They will also refer you to other people. So that's a really powerful way to build your business. This cycle of repeat business and new referrals can continue to build as long as your business keeps feeding that trust account, if you will. We can think of it like a trust account. If you build a trust account with your clients, customers, and you manage the resources of that trust account that you have built with them, just like the trust accounts that some folks have financially, that foundation of trust will keep you resourced for a really, really long time and be a solid foundation for your business. And there's a saying in the business world that when trust is low, things go slow, but that business moves at the speed of trust. So if trust is really high, business flies. So how do we identify our values? First, I think we can think about some kind of a framework. So if you're wanting to make a list of your values, maybe think about a framework first so that you don't miss anything that's important. In permaculture, we talk about the ethics, which are earth care, people care, fair share, or sometimes the third one is called future care or resource share. That can be a framework for identifying values. I have a friend who does a check-in that she calls PIES, and that's physical, intellectual, emotional, and social. So find a framework for yourself for identifying values. And then do what works best for you, for your personality and your preferences and your skills, to ruminate on and capture your values. So some folks are going to want to draw pictures that represent their values. Others will want to make lists. Conversations are sometimes a really great way to discover what your values are. You can draw a mind map. Whatever you do to identify what your values are, eventually you're going to need to translate to them into some words, because that's how you'll communicate them to others who are doing business with you. And also, I want to say, when it comes to values and even transparency, all of your personal values might not be brought into your business because some of them might be too personal. And so you have to decide for yourself if something like your spiritual values or religious values are relevant to your business, if you feel safe in sharing them. So even though you need to understand what it's helpful if you can understand what your values are, and you can articulate them to trusted folks. In your business, you might just talk about the things that are relevant to the business world. And I also wanted to say that in Starhawk's book, The Empowerment Manual, she has a process for creating and using a values council to discover and agree on a set of values for the group that are working together. So I think that could be a great resource if you're building a business with other folks. So we want to identify our values and capture them somehow in words, a list. I want to call out that I think it's really important to make sure that you address your values about money. As I do this work, supporting business owners, teaching classes, helping folks start their business, it's pretty common to have conversations where people are saying that they're not big fans of late stage capitalism, and aren't really, they don't have smooth, easy feelings about accumulating a lot of money. Also, I find a lot of times that folks I work with are actually really undercharging for whatever their goods or services are. So I understand that, wealth concentration doesn't really help society. It doesn't really help the earth. It can create gigantic power differentials. And I think it's important to keep in mind that money is a really powerful tool, and it's a means of exchange for some of life's necessities. So it's kind of the game that we're playing right now. So presumably, if you're starting a business, or even a not-for-profit project. One of the reasons for doing that is to provide an income for yourself. And even if you're starting a not-for-profit, that organization has to at least break even. So charging a fair price will give your business enough money to be viable and stay in business, to help you have the resources that you need to thrive. And when you're figuring out your pricing, which is one of the things that we do in regenerative business design, is we figure out the break-even pricing so that you're covering all of your expenses with the projected revenue. Then when you've done that kind of like critical analysis, you can figure out if you want to offer different types of pricing for different groups of people based on income, or how much profit you want to have for your business, and finding a number that's comfortable for you where you are profiting without profiteering. Profiteering is, when businesses are taking advantage of a situation, say there's a shortage of something, and just raising the prices and all of that. That's not something that I want to be involved with. I do want my business to be profitable without profiteering. And I think that one of the things to remember that I finally figured out in terms of money is that the more money that I have in my control, the more I can use that to do good things in the world and make the changes that I want to, support good causes that I want to see happening in the world. So I do encourage you to discover what your values are about money, and to find ways to have a positive relationship with thinking about having abundant money that you, again, can do good things with. So as we identify our values, we can put them to work in our business. And I have some ideas on places where you can bring your values into your business to make them visible and put them into action. So the good old business plan, if there's anybody listening who's been in the regenerative business design course, they know that if they do all of their homework, the outcome of the regenerative business design course is that they have a viable business plan that they can show to other partners or investors or funders. And there are many different sections to the business plan. The list that's here on the slide is not the comprehensive list. It's just a list of some places where I thought you could especially highlight your values or the values of the business, such as in the future of the company, the vision. Maybe your company at some point is going to, do something to make your community a better place. The mission statement is another great place where organizations talk about what they want to see happen. Mission, vision, and values. Maybe your legal structure is going to be how you make your values visible. So maybe the legal structure of your business is going to be a B Corp, a benefit corp, or maybe it's going to be a cooperative. As you're thinking about who your customers are, and the advantage that your company provides over other providers, maybe with a similar product, again, places where you can highlight your values. Your pricing, again, might be another place where you're bringing your values if you have various prices based on income-based, or you're able to, do some scholarship funding or something like that. And then communicating with the customer, which is something that in a few minutes, Carolyn's going to talk more about. Also, if you're looking for an example of the business plan, the one that I like to work with just comes right from the Small Business Association at sba.gov. So you can get more information on the structure of the business plan there. But so values can be visible in your business plan. And your business plan also, it helps you not only tell others about your business, but it also serves as kind of a guide, your map for your business. So once you get everything written up, then you can use that to get your business launched and keep track of if you're measuring up to your goals and make adjustments along the way. We can also think about how we can make our values visible in the operations of our business and the interactions that we have with our clients. What kind of materials are we buying? Are we getting fair trade organic cotton t-shirts for our t-shirt printing business? Are we paying a living wage to folks who work for us, or even independent contractors who sometimes don't really charge enough? Where are we locating our business if we have something that's brick and mortar? Also, like with procedures that we have in dealing with customer care, are we taking good care of customers and living up to our values there? I think it can also be important to share your values with your employees if you have them, and perhaps any contractors, especially contractors who are working with your clients in any way, so that there can be a seamlessness and uniformity about the way that your customer gets treated, and so that the values that you identify get upheld. There's really endless ways to walk your talk, and in the Regenerative Business Design course, we have a whole module where we talk about and brainstorm different ways to bring our own values into how and what we're doing for our business. Your number one asset is that trust account, your integrity. So another business saying is under promise and over deliver. It is easier to keep a customer. It's easier and cheaper to keep a customer than to get a new one. And sometimes we might have to honor our return policy, which can cost us some money. But very likely, that value of integrity, that value of customer service is way less expensive to honor than it would be to get another new client. Again, don't know how true this is, but there's another saying about one happy customer will tell one other person, one of their friends. One unhappy customer will tell 10 of their friends. So it really is good to keep your integrity as much as possible. Customers will sometimes forget the things that you do, but they will always remember how you make them feel, which is actually true in just about any relationship, really. So if you make them feel valued, if your integrity and any other values that you've talked about and that they care about are centered and maintained, then they're going to keep that trust with you and be willing to keep coming back to do business with you, and also to tell your friends about that. One easy way to help people feel better is to offer just a 100% money back guarantee, no questions asked, and to honor it. So in my experience, people I've worked with have had very few times where folks have actually asked for their money back. So anyway, as you think about your values, I would say that is your most important asset, is your integrity. Another way that we can think about making our values visible is through our online presence. This might be your website, your brand, how this community that you're building, your logo, if you look at the logo here of the earth and the feet, that's my logo. And to me, that says a lot about my values. If your business is doing things like running on renewable power, you can make that visible to your clients. Or if the profits, if 1% of the profits are contributed to an organization, like 1% for the planet, or to a local indigenous group or not-for-profit, you can tell folks that that's what you're doing, and also maybe link to more information on that good thing that you're supporting so that your customers can also learn about that along the way. If you have your values visible in your online presence, then that helps you attract the people that you want to work with, and the people who want to work with you will know that they want to work with you because they'll see your values. So Carolyn is going to talk about why and how to do that, why and how to build that community.
Thank you, Patty. I'm just gonna get my slides up here. All right, so now that we are getting clear on our values and integrating them with our business and starting to put them out into the world, we're starting to attract people who are aligned with our values. And I'm going to go over some more specific ways that you can start to attract an audience and grow a community, and why you would want to do that. I think a lot of us would agree that some of our common values are probably maybe even like community itself, you know, interconnection. We probably value a lot of community interactions, mutual support, that kind of thing. So having an online business is or an online community is a really great way to embody those values. Community, though, means so many different things in different contexts. One meaning of that, you know, a community is a group of people who have something in common or share values. But for the purposes of this talk, I am going to get a little bit more specific. And that is the way that I'm going to use it is I'm going to differentiate between, sorry, there's a siren going by. I don't know if you can hear that. I'm going to differentiate between an audience and a community. So an audience, I'm going to use that to mean more like one-way communication. Like you are growing on social media, you're doing the posting, and people have limited opportunity to interact with each other. You know, they can comment, but it's mostly like one-way communication. Whereas a community, I see it as more like they have mutual connections. They can communicate with each other. So yeah, we're going to talk about how do we facilitate those kind of connections. And I think we really need more online communities with people who share our values, because we're losing in the physical world, we're losing access to what's called third spaces. And third spaces are the places that are not home and not work, but where we can have chance encounters, socialize with people, kind of network, but in a casual way, you know? These are places like public libraries, town squares, would have been, you know, the village well. Some cultures have a strong community of like a community sauna culture where you just go sit in the sauna and you hang out and you chat and maybe have some food afterwards. And that's becoming more rare and more difficult to access in our modern society. And so I'm definitely not saying that online community like replaces in-person community, but I do think it's kind of an important like supplement to our mental health in some cases. You can build a sense of camaraderie. Sometimes they're more accessible for people who either like have mobility issues or live really rurally or just can't access in-person community. And for really specific niche interests, maybe there just aren't a lot of people in your area who share those interests. And there are spaces for people to organize and create change. So those are some more like general benefits of online community, but it can also benefit your business. So Patty already mentioned some of those benefits, which are building trust and transparency. And that's a really important aspect of your online community, because you can often feel more comfortable to be authentic or vulnerable in a smaller group that you're cultivating, with people share your values. It can be a big benefit to your customers or clients because especially say that they're learning something. Maybe you offer some kind of education or online classes. They get peer-to-peer support by interacting with each other. And it just facilitates collaboration, networking, meeting new like-minded people. Maybe you find someone with a complementary business and you can like co-market. For example, Patty and I are collaborating on this webinar. Or maybe you find a speaking gig or advertising community. And an online community could be direct income if that's part of your business plan. It could be a paid membership. There are different community models. It could be completely free and public, or it could be a private group that is offered like as a bonus or an add-on to another product. For example, like someone joins a coaching package with you, and then all of your past customers get access to this private group. Or it could be a paid membership. It totally depends on your business model. But like Patty said, she mentioned like we do need to charge what we're worth, or what that's not how she worded it, but it's okay to charge money for something that you're providing value for. It's wonderful if you can provide support for an online community for free, but that might be a paid membership model because it does take work to continue engagement or to moderate community. So that might be your model as well. So how do you get this community? I mentioned the difference, how I'm using the words audience versus community. So you would start by growing an audience. That could be through social media, but I'm going to talk about alternatives in a second. And then when you have sort of a critical mass of people who are engaged and interested, then you would invite them to join a community where they have more opportunity to communicate with each other, and it's more of a level of slightly exclusivity. So I actually added more of this section about growing an audience to this webinar just recently because of the recent news with the recent news about Meta. Social media is always changing quickly. And I think right now, the feeling is that a lot of people are kind of panicking about their social media. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, just a few days ago, Mark Zuckerberg went on Facebook and announced that basically fact checking is going away. And he said something like simplifying what was it, like simplifying the process of like community reporting and things like that. Like basically it's opening the doors for fake news, political propaganda, and possibly even hate speech. Like it's going to be more difficult to report. So I saw so many people like leaving Twitter after Elon Musk took it over, that it didn't feel like a safe space anymore for many people. And then after the election, a lot of people went to Threads. That seemed like the place to be for a while, but Threads is owned by Meta. So I wanted to add this in because now a lot of people are feeling very confused about how they, social media kind of feels like the rug is constantly being like pulled out from under you. You think you're growing an audience and then everything changes. So there are other tried and true methods of growing an audience if social media feels uncertain or not the place for you. One of the important things that you want to be doing is having a place where people can find you that you own, because the problem with social media is you don't have as much control over it as you would like to have. They change the rules all the time. They change the policies. They can bury your posts in ads or, yeah. So having a way for people to search for you and find you is what you want to be doing to grow an audience. And this is kind of a tried and true method before social media was as effective for finding business. And it's not dead. Some people are saying like, oh, like blog posts are dead. You can just have a business on social media. You don't need a website. And I think that is nonsense. I think blog posts have never been dead, but are also getting a big resurgence with all of this social media unpredictability. So there are alternatives though, if you're not as into writing. YouTube is more dependable than other social media, and it is also building up your search engine optimization. Same with podcasts, or you could be writing on other platforms as well, like Medium and Substack. Those are also possibilities. But what you want to do is kind of have a regular routine of creating some kind of regular content. Like choose your platform, brainstorm what your people are going to be Googling. And not just like your business name or your business title, but like what problems are they having? So that could be something like how to grow vegetables in my front yard, like what are they looking to achieve? Make a list of those things and then create content based on that is on a platform, either blog posts on your own website, YouTube with keywords in it, fill in those captions and titles, or podcast episodes, whichever medium that you can be the most consistent with, that's the best medium for you to use. So that's part one, is being searchable. And then the other part is having a mailing list. Have some way to get people on to your mailing list, because that's a contact list that you own. You don't own your social media followers. They can be taken away at any time. Your account could get hacked. You could be reported, shut down, although apparently that's going to be almost impossible soon. And email marketing is more effective than social media marketing. Like a post versus an email, It's more likely someone's going to open that email than that someone's going to see that social media post. And it's more likely that someone is going to become your client or customer from an email. So you have an audience. Here are some things to think about whether you're ready to start another online community or an online community. How big is your audience and how engaged are they? Because you could have really high follower numbers, but if they're not really interacting, maybe they're not ready for a community. And also think about, what is the purpose for your community? Do you have a reason to gather? And I mentioned some, all kinds of reasons why you might want to gather. And then how are you going to facilitate this community? What platform are you going to use? So a lot of people do think Facebook groups. That's the first thing that comes to mind. I'm going to talk about that in a second, but I'm really focused on getting off of Facebook right now. So some questions that you want to think about are, how does your community like interacting? Text, video, voice. Some platforms use combinations of these, like a lot of text-based platforms. Also have like a voice room where you can just go to that room and unmute yourself and talk with other people in there. Clubhouse is an example of one of those voice platforms. So how do they like to communicate? And then what else do you want to do in your community? Like, do you want to share files? Do you want to show videos? How do you want to keep them engaged? Do you want to be posting regularly? Do you need a chronological feed? Like, just think about how you want to use it. And then you can look at different features of different platforms. So a lot of people think a community is Facebook groups because that's a really popular one. One reason for that is that people are just logged into Facebook. More people have a Facebook account than other platforms like Discord or Signal or whatever. So the big advantage to a Facebook group is that they'll see those notifications. They'll be logged into Facebook. They'll be more active in that group just by getting notifications. But a big disadvantage is they can get a lot of spam. You don't own that content. You're not hosting it. And Meta scares me right now. They have control of it. So what I would recommend a Facebook group for is, like, it is great for sort of hobbies or interests where you want to reach a large number of people that have something in common. For example, I do have a Facebook group with like 16,000 people. It's for tiny houses in my area. And it's fantastic. Like, it's very engaged. But the big thing is that my business doesn't hinge on that. Like, that's a hobby. We're a group of people with a mutual interest, but I'm not using that for business. So I have seen Facebook groups really benefit a business, but I do think that times are changing and people are starting to move away from that. So another alternative then is a different text-based community. And there are many that work pretty similarly to Facebook in that you're making posts and people comment and you have kind of a chronological order of threads. You can have your own self-hosted forum on your website, or you could use a software like Discord, Slack, Signal, There's a whole bunch of them, and many of them are free. Some of them you pay for, and some of them are free, and then you like pay for extra features. And then another option, if you're also doing online courses, then whatever online course platform you choose might come with a community option. Like, for example, Earth Activist Training uses Mighty Networks, and that hosts all the courses, but it also has text. The community can post and comment in there as well. One disadvantage of those kind of platforms, though, is that people are not always logged in. Like with anything other than the most popular platforms, like Facebook or Threads, people are not going to get the notifications as much. So you do have to put in a little more effort into keeping people engaged. Give them a reason to log in, maybe by hosting community chats, events. If it's related to a course, it might be easier because you have like regular content being uploaded. So my current favorite platform, which I think is really, it's already gaining a lot of traction. And I think it is really going to take off. It's called Go Brunch. And in Go Brunch, you can create a virtual rooms, and they can kind of work like a Zoom room, but people can drop in anytime. And you can design them to suit your group's theme. So they have a visual appearance. I'm going to show you examples in just a second. You can use it to host webinars, meetings, and you can have different rooms for different activities and different themes. So I'm going to stop sharing here and hop over to browser. That's minimized. And show you some examples of Go Brunch. So this is Go Brunch here. It could look like anything. This is one example of a room. Here's another one. So the fun of this is you can design your rooms to look like anything, and you can choose how many people are in the rooms. And they have options of, similar to Zoom, you know, you can turn your camera on, or you could have a larger camera. And you can base them on real spaces as well. Like if you have real places where you tend to gather, you can use photographs of those. And you can have several rooms in a space, and people can jump from room to room to have smaller conversations. There's a lot of possibilities with this software, so I do really like it for community groups. Show you one more room. A lot of people do co-working in these kind of groups. This is just an example. I'm in a co-working group, and we just drop into our virtual office. So yeah, I've been in like meditation groups in these type of rooms and all that kind of, anything you can imagine. You can also upload files. Yeah, just getting back to the other slides. Wow, so many windows. Yeah, so I do think that's a really great software, and it's actually on an app called AppSumo right now. So they have like a pretty affordable lifetime deal. If you are thinking of doing an online community, it's even like, cheaper than Zoom right now. So yeah, I recommend that. But then once you have a community, you have to think about how are you going to keep people engaged. And so some of those ideas are posting events, posting questions, adding new content regularly, which is great, especially if your field is something educational. And then you might have exclusive content for members so that they want to keep logging in. And if you need more help on anything that I talked about or anything digital presence related, like starting a website, growing an email list, promoting on social media, or even just getting organized with digital tools like task management, client management, booking, I am offering this course starting in April, Digital Ecosystem Design. It's a 6-week course where you will learn all of the essentials for getting your business online. And it's not just for online businesses. It's also just the digital essentials of in-person or online businesses. Because you still need to find clients and have an audience, and an online community could benefit your in-person business as well. So yeah, we'll go over basic stuff about how to start a website, which platform should you choose, getting organized, how to create this email list that I talked about, how to get people on it, which social media platforms. I'm gonna have to probably rewrite that section. And content creation. What do you post and where do you post it? And what kind of software and apps can you use to make it easier? And then the last week is going to be all about the participants to get feedback or ask questions. And I'm going to customize some content based on what people need. But if you're not yet at the point in your business where you're ready to launch into the online space and get your business out there, Patty is offering a course that's actually just before my course. So they like flow right into each other. Patty is offering regenerative business design, and she is going to tell you about that.
Thank you. Thanks, Carolyn, for all that great information. I was really taking some notes, and I'm so excited. So yes, in just a few short weeks, we will be starting this year's iteration of Regenerative Business Design. It's an 8-week course that starts on February 4th. And in each course, in each week, there is a different module. So we start out basically, I describe this class, my fun description is if permaculture and business 101 had a baby, it would be this class. So you don't have to know anything about starting a business, but if you're thinking about starting a business, this class can be very helpful. Also, this class can be very helpful if you have a business that you've been operating for a while and maybe you want to make some tweaks. Maybe you want to make it more aligned with your values. Maybe you want to bring permaculture design into designing your regenerative business. So we start out the first week talking about that, like, if you don't know anything about permaculture, we just do a really quick intro to talk about the parts that are especially relevant to the regenerative business design course. And then we go into the step of goals, articulations, and then analyzing, assess, like, what do you know? What do you need to know? Who do you need to meet? Then we get right into finances, because figuring out how to have a financially viable business is the only way to stay in business. So we jump right into finances and cover things like figuring out how to set your pricing, developing those projected financial statements, your profit and loss statement, your balance sheet, your statement of cash flows, working out those budgets. And then we go into your marketing messages and your communication plan. And we're very excited that Carolyn's going to be providing some content for that section this time. And then in the 5th week, we go into the operations of, we maybe played that game growing up, but in business, operations is like how you do things, processes, procedures. We're designing the structure and functions for your business. And then the next week, we kind of unpack some more details around that topic of operations. There's an entire module about regeneration where I provide some ideas about how you can bring more regenerative design into your business, and we do a brainstorm. We also give feedback to each other for some ideas, and then we kind of put it all together and figure out how to get your business launched and get your doors open. And that's where, if you have done all of the exercises by the 8th week, you could have a completed plan, a business plan that is all set to go for you, for anybody who you, might need to share that with. And something that we're not really highlighting tonight, but I'll just mention, I also facilitate the Maven Makers group, which is a monthly group where we meet. It's a community where we meet business owners who want to talk about what's going on in their businesses, get some feedback, get some ideas. And one of our meetings is as a group, and then the other meeting is one-with-one time with me. So there's more information about the Maven Makers on Earth Activist website if you want more information about that. But hoping to see some of you in regenerative business design in a few weeks. And Carolyn, are we ready for questions, if there are any?
Questions, yeah.
Yeah.
I have actually lost my Zoom window with all these windows open. I'm still here, but I cannot see the chat. So
Great. Let's see.
Well, if people have any questions, they can put them in the chat, or they could just unmute and speak out.
And maybe we've done such a thorough and fabulous job that there aren't any questions whatsoever. So I think it would be, while we're waiting to see if somebody has a question, did somebody unmute? I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry, that was me. I just said, I guess I can stop sharing. Okay.
Oh.
I found the chat now.
And I was just going to say, will people, organize their thoughts to see if they have any questions, just to remind folks that if you've joined us on this call, we have a discount code that's for you that is in the chat window that will give you 10% off the price of the Regenerative Business Design course. And so, yes, one of the questions is, will the recording of tonight be available? Yes, everyone who has registered for this event will get a link to the recording, and that will go up in the next couple of days. Also, there will be at least pieces of the presentation will be in some different places on the Earth Activist Training website. Do we have any other questions? All right. I'm not seeing, oh, here we go. Let's see. Okay. I'm not seeing any other questions. So I want to thank Charles and Asa and the rest of the Earth Activist team for supporting all the work that they do behind the scenes to get the word out about this event and to help us run the classes. I know I couldn't do my work of teaching if we didn't also have that network of support with all those the staff behind the staff and and Starhawk behind us doing all the work that they do. Oh, here comes a question.
Hi there. So my question is this: for those of us that are engaged in like some really, doing organic things with our hands and tasks that require, a deeper presence that are, I'd say, like more adverse to like promoting themselves digitally. Um, I think it was Patty, you were talking about a critical mass needed to achieve where you could like, then do the blog posts and all that. Do you, is at any point like you recommend that process of like achieving that critical mass, like outsourcing it, or are you a believer that like you can do it in a way that feels like authentic to you and don't need to outsource?
Yeah, I do think that you can do it in a way that feels authentic to you. There, I mean, some people do just pay for ads, they will just push out content, but that I don't think that's what we're talking about here at all. Like, but I think you're not alone in having this like aversion to all things digital. Like that is so common and I hear that all the time. But I think one thing that one kind of like mindset shift that helps people is instead of having this idea that you are selling something all the time, instead kind of think of it as documenting all of the cool things you're doing. You're getting your hands dirty, you're transforming the earth, but whatever it is that you do, and find a medium to document it in that is easy for you. Some people are totally comfortable on camera and then they can just pick up their phone and make a TikTok and it only takes 2 minutes. And, that's a very like low barrier for some people. And other people are like, I don't want to have my face on camera. I don't want to be seen. I mean, right now, the place for that is Threads. People are loving Threads. Just, it takes 2 minutes to just type whatever's on your mind. And a lot of people are having a lot of success with that. So there are different methods, whether it's video, writing. As far as the critical mass part of it, the traditional way would be that you have an audience, it's big enough, like you grow a big enough audience, and then you start a community. But, there's like an exception to every rule. You could start a community. If you have a few core engaged people, then you could start a community right off the bat. It doesn't have to be a big community, but what you don't want is to start a community without any kind of audience, and then your community kind of ends up as a ghost town. Like that's the only consideration why I mentioned kind of having like a critical mass, but that critical mass could be, small depending on your business. Yeah, I hope that helps.
Yeah, and my takeaway about that is it's kind of a combination of the number and engagement. So, for example, if you have a handful of people who are super engaged, maybe that's a foundation for a community. But if you have, 25 people and only a couple of people are really engaged, then, maybe that bigger number isn't better in that case. The other thing I want to say when I think about like, I think about the bashfulness that some of us have about promoting ourselves. And for me, it's really helpful to think about providing value as opposed to like giving a sales pitch, like how am I providing value? And if when I'm talking about my business or a class that I'm doing or something, I'm also providing value, then that it becomes a meaningful way to talk to people about what you're doing that is providing you with an income, whatever that business is. It's just to provide value.
Mm.
All right.
Charles?
I'd like to also encourage people to not feel alone. I think the digital world can feel isolating, and we can work together in guilds and communities. So maybe you are promoting yourself and you're creating a community around the work you're doing. Maybe you're joining a community that's already doing similar things, a writing group, gardeners club, like something that already has a digital presence in which you're bringing your presence to it. So I think that also you don't have to be alone in this. You're not like generating all of it by yourself. We're talking about how do you work in community, and think even if you're in, we're talking about the digital sphere, and you're talking about how you work in your neighborhoods. A lot of times you are connecting with other people in their spaces and places that are not your place. So I'd encourage people to think about who are their allies and how you can engage with your allies. It isn't all about just generating it all full force from you into the world.
Yeah, sometimes that game of like, if we imagine whatever our connections are to other people, it might be like that game of telephone when we're kids where you have, two cans on a short string. But maybe sometimes that string between those soup cans is really long. And so when you're finding people online, it's just like the distance might be a little bit farther physically, geographically. But you have this node of connection, thinking of the spider web pattern that we talk about so much in permaculture as a model for our network that we're building. And sometimes a way to do that is, some of these other tools we've been talking about here. Well, it looks like we've covered all the questions. So thanks everyone for coming on tonight. And I'm really excited to be here. Hope to see some of you in Regenerative Business Design class. And if you have any questions, you can reach out to me, Patty at earthactivisttraining.org. Carolyn?
And I'm at Wonder and Wilder on any of the platforms. So yeah, feel free to contact me if you have any questions about digital ecosystem, of course. And thank you, everyone.